Our speaker today, most of you already know, he was working the room pretty good when he came in. But because he was working the room, we didn't get lunch, so I don't know. But Eric Peterson is the USD men's basketball coach. He's had previous stops. You want me to list them all, or you want to? I can talk about it. Okay, all right. We'll just leave it to him to tell us. He's been a few places and has done well everywhere, which is why he's moving up the coaching ladder. So let's welcome Eric.
Mark, the first frost usually means you got to get ready for basketball. That's what the first frost means. No, it's been a few years since I've been here, and Cass told me that you got to win games in order to get invited back to Rotary. So we had to get it together a little bit last year and win some games, and now we finally got the invite back. So appreciate that, Cass. Last thing I got, has anybody been to New Zealand before? Nobody in this room? It's awesome. So if you have a chance, go to New Zealand. It's amazing. As you mentioned, my name's Eric Peterson. I'm the men's basketball coach here. It's my 4th year. I'll start with just my path to coaching. I actually did a podcast, I think here, last week about just my journey. And I asked them, I'm like, why did you ask me? Like, nobody asked me about how you got to this point. They all want to know just about the team and what's going to happen this year. So I went to a small Division III school in Wisconsin. I was actually on the medical side. Wanted to do something with cancer. Had lost some people to cancer in my life. And the very first semester at college, I had to do 200 hours. I think it was 200. It was a lot of hours with cancer patients. And I love people. I just love being around people. I love talking to people. And I would come home to my dorm room, and I was just like done. Because you get to know people, and then you lose them. And this was back in, let me think here, 2001. And I just couldn't do it. And I probably should have stayed somewhat on the medical side. But I'll never forget this. My advisor was like, what else do you like? And I was like, well, I like basketball. And that's how I became a basketball coach. And it's crazy. The person that gave me my first opportunity and convinced me to coach basketball, I'm coaching one of his high school players. He's a high school coach at Onalaska High School in Wisconsin. So when you watch us play, Evan Anderson, I think he's number 10, was his high school coach. So it all kind of came full circle. That's not why we took Evan, but he's a very good player. But Craig Cole's his name, and it actually got me into coaching. So that's how I got into it. Coached a little bit at the Talented College, coached some AAU travel stuff, coached high school at La Crescent High School in Minnesota. And does everybody know Dave Boots? Dave Boots lives in La Crescent. How crazy is that? So that's where I got my start. Went out to a small junior college in Williston, North Dakota. It's 12 hours from La Crosse, Wisconsin. I made it 6 hours, and I called the head coach, and I said, I'm almost there. I was in Fargo. And he goes, you have 6 more hours to drive? You guys remember the MapQuest? It wasn't like on your phone, and you could tell, oh, I got 4 hours left. I just printed it off, and I was like, I'm almost there. And he's like, no, you're not. And I thought, the worst part was I thought I went an hour back, because at the time, it like split like this, so it was 10 minutes away from Mountain Time. It was still Central Time, so I got there really late. But that was my first job. I coached there for 4 years as an assistant coach. Got my master's, or part of my master's there. I actually came here and finished my master's. But I was there for 4. I went to Minnesota State Moorhead for 2 years in the Northern Sun, kind of helped that program get back on track. Then I went back to Williston State as the head coach and athletic director for 2 years. And Craig Smith hired me here as an assistant coach. I never made any money coaching. I was broke. I was trying to pay for my master's degree, and I was finally they were gonna pay me to stay and be the athletic director. I actually coached men's basketball, women's softball, and I was the AD. True story. And I don't know how I did it, but I did it. And they were like, well, we think we should probably pay you more next year to keep you. So I was finally gonna make money for the first time in my career. And then Craig calls me, and he's like, hey, I got a position open. You want to come? And it was literally less than I was making at Williston before I was going to get a raise. So I came here. It was a great decision. Honestly, we'd won a lot of games at Williston, and I just wanted to become a better coach. When I was young, everybody told me, just don't worry about the money, just worry about becoming a better coach and learning and growing. So I took the job here with Coach Smith, was here for 4 years. We won the league in year 3. We won 26 games in year 4, and Coach Smith got the Utah State job. And I didn't have a job, so I went to Utah. First time ever in Utah. Had a great experience out there. I was at Utah State for 3 years, played in 3 Mountain West championship games in the Mountain West tournament, made 3 straight NCAA tournaments. And then I was only at Utah for a year and came back here to be the head coach, and this is my 4th year here. So any questions about that? And I'll ask you guys some questions, or I'll open up to questions at the end. But that's kind of my journey. There's a lot of cool stories in between, but we don't have enough time to talk about that. But does anybody have any questions about the journey? That's how I got here. We had a great year last year. We won 19 games. So that's why I'm back, right, Cass? We had 6 seniors. I tell people this all the time. I was actually probably more emotional at the end of the season than I've ever been. And we played in the semifinal game, I think, for the 4th time in school history, and we got our butts kicked by Omaha. But I was very emotional, not just because we got our butts kicked. I was mad about that. But with the transfer portal now, I always feel like you don't have enough time with your players because does everybody understand the transfer portal? Yeah, kind of. So they made a rule, and it's changed since the last time I spoke here 4 years ago, that now you can transfer as many times as you want and not have to sit out. You can get paid now to play basketball. So now it's kind of become where it's been just a short stop for a lot of people. And honestly, if players are good for us, it's going to be really hard for us to keep them. And we'll talk a little bit more about that. But we had 6 seniors, and I just didn't feel like I got enough time with them. The first time I was here, we coached kids for 4 or 5 years, got to develop them. And that's why I was really emotional, because I had to say goodbye to some of those kids that I really cared about, and I was hoping we get to coach for 2 or 3 years, but just not realistic anymore. But we had a great year. We won 5 of 6 heading into the last 2 weeks of the season. And as a coach, I always say, people set goals that, hey, we're going to win the conference, or and yeah, those goals are great. But as a coach, realistically, all you want with 2 weeks left of the season is a chance to be in the hunt to compete for a championship. And we were. We just happened to go 2-3 over the last 5 games. So we were right there. We had every opportunity. We just didn't do it. But I think in any job that you take, coaching basketball, the goal is to try to have it built by year 3. And that's what we did the last time we were here. And there's a lot of coaches that they want to go places and they want to build it really quickly. Why? So they can leave. And I love this place. This is why this place is a huge reason. This basketball program is a huge reason why I came back. I love the community. I love the people in the community. And I knew, I want to build this thing for long-term success. And we finally got it done in year 3, and we're hoping to build on that this year. So, did anybody watch us play last year? You won't offend me if you didn't. But by the end of the conversation, you're going to come to a game this year. I promise you that. But who watched us play last year? Okay? Who watched us play the year before? So obviously some huge changes. And part of the reason why I decided to make some changes to how we played is the transfer portal and just losing guys every year. The way we really built it the last time I was here was based on guys being here for 4 or 5 years, or maybe you took a transfer and they were here for 3 years, where I felt after year 2, we got pretty good at the end of the season, and then what happened? The season ended, and then everybody left, or most of our guys left, and now you're trying to teach those new guys what you just taught those guys over 7 months. And so we really simplified things. We decided we were going to press the entire game, so full court press for 40 minutes. And there was some deficiencies that we had the year before with turning the ball over. I firmly believe it's all about a possession game. So how many times can you get the ball on offense? And if you've watched the Summit League has been the best offensive league in the country over the last 10 years, best three-point shooting league in the country over the last 10 years. So one way to win more, if the offense is really good, is to what? Have more possessions where you have the ball. So we decided to press the entire game. And going into it, I'd wake up in night sweats because obviously I care, right? But you're doing something different, and before the first game, you're like, is this going to work? And I've done it before as a junior college coach, but I've never done it at the Division I level. So there was some growing pains with it. As a coach in practice, and Cass, you can attest to this. Has anybody else coached basketball? Okay. As a head coach, you want practice to be really good every day. But when you press, it's hard for it to be really good every day because you are forcing turnovers. So you're mad at the offense for turning the ball over, but you're happy with the defense because you forced the turnover. And so I leave practice was that a good? And I go back and film and watch it. But the first game, we roll out and we dominated the possession game. There was never a point in the game where I felt like we didn't have control of the game. And overall, throughout the season, all the numbers and analytics line up. We were number 1 in the country in getting fouled and getting to the free throw line. So what happens when you get fouled? You break up runs for the other team. So the other team can't go on an 8-0 run because you just got fouled, and now you're breaking up that run. So that was huge for us. The previous year, we were bottom 5 in the country in turning the ball over, meaning we just threw it to the other team and they scored. That's not good. So last year, we were the number 1 team in the country in not turning the ball over. So we went bottom 5 to the best team at not turning it over. We were number 2 in tempo behind Alabama, so we played really, really fast. I've said this in some interviews, but I think through the first 5 games, we had more dunks in the first 5 games than we did the previous 5 years. So we were more athletic. We were number 3 in scoring offense, so we scored a ton of points. And then the part that's been easier for me to try to go get people and recruit is we were 10th in the country in bench points. So a lot of the kids ask the question, Coach, like, am I going to play? And when I can say, hey, we were top 10 in bench points, that means we play a lot of guys. And when you press, you have to play a lot of guys. And if you watched us play last year, it was maybe 3 or 4 minutes max per player. And then they come out, and it was like, has anybody watched hockey or like actually been down in the ice for hockey? And I found this out when I was an athletic director. We started hockey at Williston State, and I would kind of be by the benches, and they play for like, how long, 20 or 30 seconds? And they come out, and they're just gassed, probably because of the night before a little bit, because they're hockey players. But a lot of it is they do play for 30 seconds really hard. So we were subbing guys in and out, and I think it's an exciting style to play for the guys, but I also think it helps us with recruiting because we can play a lot of guys. Other things, we were top 100 in steals, top 100 in offensive rebounds. Obviously, that helps get more possessions when you can get offensive rebounds. And we were top 100 in the country in turnovers forced. So we did a lot of good things with the press. We led the Summit League in 8 different categories, which has never happened before. And this is year 2, and I fully expect to be better at it, and we have been better at it. About our team. So I told you guys we lost 6 seniors, which was hard. We lost 6 of our top 7 players. The one that we returned is Isaac Bruns. He's from Dakota Valley, so a local kid, and everyone's like, how did you get Isaac back? Isaac averaged 16 points a game in league play in just 26 minutes. And if you know basketball, that's pretty rare to score 16 points in 26 minutes, but it's the possession game. When you play way more possessions, because we play so fast, that can happen. So Isaac, has anybody met Isaac or talked to Isaac? Isaac, he's an unbelievable kid. Like, if there's one player on our team that I would let babysit my kids, it'd be Isaac. He's phenomenal with kids, but on the court, when you watch Isaac play, he looks mad all the time. He's got an edge to him, and he's a little bit stubborn. And I tell people the reason why he didn't leave is he's stubborn and wants to make the NCAA tournament here. He's a South Dakota boy. He's a coyote through and through, and he wants to win here, and that's why he didn't leave. Because if he went in the portal, he would have been offered a ton of money. And some players really value that stuff, and some players are like, Coach, like, what? I just want to have a good role and be happy. And most of the time, you're happy when you're what? Playing, right? And we're finding that out. There's guys that leave our program that probably have to take the money that they're offered. We have a kid at Boston College this year. We have one at Hawaii, and they were offered a lot of money. And both of them have reached out to me, and they're like, Coach, I miss it. I miss the coaching staff. I miss the team. I miss Vermillion. I miss the press. And they're not having as much fun at the next stop, but they are making some money. So that's what's kind of going on with college basketball right now. But we had, last year we had 2 season-ending injuries. We have both those players back. Jake Brack was our starting 4-man. Did something to his meniscus, kind of came back, and then tore his shoulder. He's like 6'8". He's from Omaha, Scott Catholic. Very good player, plays really hard for us. You'll see him a lot this year. And then Cam Fens, our big 7-footer. Would have been really nice to have Cam in conference play. When you press, you want somebody at the end of the press that is big and can protect the rim. And you guys, if you watched this play last year late, I love Max Birchill to death. He's one of my favorite kids I've ever coached. But he's about 6'3", 6'4", and he was playing the 5 for us. That's not great when you're trying to win the league. So we have Cam back. We have a couple other players back as well. I talked about Isaac. Shea Eberwine from Texas is back. He played some point guard for us last year. And then we have 3 transfers, and then we have 3 true freshmen that will play for us. And 5 freshmen overall. 2 of them are redshirt freshmen. Porter Enan from Lenox, South Dakota, you'll see him this year. And then Evan Anderson, who I just talked about from Onalaska, Wisconsin, he'll play. Both those guys redshirted. Our transfers, okay? First one, Josiah. As you guys might have heard, he tore his ACL a couple weeks ago. Had high expectations for him. He was Mr. Basketball at Nebraska, played at Creighton, played at SLU. So we won't have him. So if you come to the game and you see him at the end of the bench, he tore his ACL. We have Jordan Crawford, who should play on Sunday, but he's got a sprained wrist right now. He transferred from Eastern Kentucky. And then we have another one named Ethan Kaiser. You'll recognize Ethan. You've probably seen him. His nickname is Hair Jordan because he's got hair down to here, and he doesn't put it up. He wears a headband. So he can really shoot it, very athletic. He's battling a bulging disc in his back, but he should play on Sunday. So the 3 transfers, and then our 3 true freshmen. Losing Josiah. Josiah was our point guard. Don't get them confused, but Uzziah is our freshman from Texas. He will be one of our point guards. We have Vince Buzelis, who you'll recognize. He played really well for us on Saturday against Northern Iowa. His brother was a lottery pick for the Bulls, so he's got a good background of basketball in his family. And then Jesse McIntosh is a 6'8" Australian. You'll see him go like this because that's what internationals do when they sub in. They make the X, so you recognize him. But all 3 of those guys will play for us, so we'll be pretty young. But I like the mix of guys that we have in our program. Okay, our schedule. This is one of the most exciting parts. Okay, we have 10 games in the state of South Dakota this year. I'm not sure that's ever happened. 9 at home, and then 1 in Rapid City. The Rapid City one is over Thanksgiving break, and we play Air Force, which there's a base in Rapid City, so I think that's really good. And then we just picked up an exhibition game against Northern Arizona. We play them on Sunday, and that's a special game for us. So it's not included in the season ticket package, but what we're doing is it's a $10 admission, and with everything changing in college athletics, whatever we make in that game is going to go back directly to our players to retain them. A lot of people are about just paying like new players and trying to get transfers in. And I think the biggest thing for us at South Dakota is retaining our current players. If you can get the good ones back, I think that's the most important piece because they've done the press. They know the system. A lot of these guys, they love Vermillion. It's just they're offered a ton of money somewhere else. And they don't want to leave, but they're almost forced to. So that game will be an institutional NIL game. Anything that we raise in that game will go back to our players. It's this Sunday at 1 o'clock. We play 3 high major teams. We play Creighton, the second game of the season, November 5th. We play Kansas State, and we play Missouri. Those are our 3 major games. And then we have 2 Mountain West teams on the schedule. I mentioned 1, Air Force and Rapid City, and then we go to Wyoming. Wyoming was here last year. We beat them at home, and now we got to go back to Laramie. Has anybody been to Laramie before? Everybody has? Wow, impressive. The unique piece about that is it's, 7770, so 7,770 feet above sea level, and we gotta get in better shape with the press in order to get out there and have a chance. So I got to play there when I was at Utah State 3 times, and we were really good, and they were not very good at the time, but the first half was always interesting. The players were hunched over because they couldn't breathe and they needed oxygen, but we usually figured it out. So that'll be a tough game for us. Those are our 5 higher level opponents that we play. And then on the Wyoming trip, we play Northern Colorado in the Big Sky Challenge right before that, so it's on the same swing. You guys will probably ask me this at the end, and I can't answer it, but we did get 3 commitments from kids for next year, and I can't talk about them until November when they sign. So don't ask me about that when I open up to questions. Last thing I got, I always try to teach something when I speak, and just so you guys are more educated. And part of the reason why I love South Dakota basketball is because most of the time you guys are pretty smart. You know when to boo the refs. You know when to cheer. You just have a really good feel for basketball. But I always like to teach you guys something new, and I'm learning every year too. I feel like the NCAA, almost always there's like 8 new things, and if you don't watch the video or keep track of the emails that they send, you just don't catch up to it. So one of the biggest changes this year, and if you want me to ever do this, just yell at me during the game, but we can challenge stuff now, okay? Most of the time at the end of games, and we all did this as coaches, where it was like questionable who it went off of, and we'd be like, oh, challenge, review it, and then how long did the end of the games become? 25 minutes, and you guys are sitting there, and they stop serving beer at the SCSC, and your popcorn's done, and you don't have anything else to do. Now they've kind of cut down on that. You have to call a timeout. So if I wanted to challenge a play, and the plays that you can challenge are goaltending, so that means the ball's above the rim, it's in the cylinder, and somebody hits it, or it hits the backboard, it hasn't gone in yet, somebody swipes it. You can challenge that. either way. So if we block a shot and I don't think it's goaltending, I can call a timeout, challenge it, and they have to go to the camera and review it. And the other side too is if I think they goaltended our shot, same deal, I can call a timeout. So that's one. Second one is out of bounds. So late clock, it used to be, oh yeah, check it no matter what. Now I have to call a timeout and they have to go to the monitor. And now if we win the challenge, I get the timeout back and the challenge back. If I lose it, I use a timeout and then I don't get any more challenges the rest of the game. So if I challenge something in the first half and it's wrong, it's done the rest of the game. The other one, and maybe you guys don't realize this, there's like a restricted arc underneath the basket. So if I'm a defender and I'm trying to take a charge, I have to be outside of that restricted arc to stand there. If somebody drives in at me and I don't jump straight up in that restricted arc, it's always a block no matter what. So like we teach our guys, if someone's standing there and they don't jump, just run them over and just put the ball up and you'll shoot 2 free throws. So we can challenge that too, where they will go back and look to see if your heels are outside of that arc. It's like a half circle. And the rule technically is too, if I'm on my tippy toes and they're outside, but my heels are in like the cylinder going up from the restricted arc, you're inside and that's a block. So if you see that happen at games this year, or if you're just watching basketball games on TV, that's the newest thing in college basketball, is we get a challenge now. And hopefully that makes the games go a lot faster the last 5 minutes or last 4 minutes under the media timeout. So they're not checking every single call. We have to actually challenge for them to check it. Does that make sense? Okay, that's a lot of information really quickly. You guys, what questions do you have for me about our team, about me, our program, rules?
Is the arc visible, or
You can see it. You probably can't see it from the stands. I think it may be hard to see it, but if you were to like walk on the court, it's just a black little line right underneath the basket. So if I stood, the hoop would be right there. And honestly, it's more of a safety deal. If I'm sitting in the restricted area and I'm trying to take a charge, like that's dangerous. You're probably going to undercut somebody. So it's more the safety of the sport is why they put that in there. And then it was always kind of a rule, like are they under the basket, are they not? And I think this just clarifies it more. There's a line in an arc. They're either in or they're out. Does that make sense? So if you walked on the floor, you could see it absolutely, but I don't know if you can see it from the stands. It's pretty thin and it's just right underneath the hoop. Good question though.
2 questions, please. You were brought up and only know of a 3-point line shooting, right?
Correct.
I wasn't. Is there any consideration you're pressing that many teams press, thinking outside the box? You ever thought about getting a true big man low post and going back to more emphasis on the closer to the lane offense rather than 3-point, pass, run and jump shot? Or
Yeah.
3-point?
We had that last year. He just broke his foot. Just give me a gut punch right there. No, I'm just kidding. No, so I think it's important. So analytics are a huge deal in basketball. The NBA they hire people for hundreds of thousands of dollars that just look at analytics. And the analytics say right next to the basket and the 3-point line are the best shots in basketball. The mid-range game, let me think here, 3 years ago, and this is the last time I looked it up, out of the NBA players, okay, being good at like a 3, if you shoot 40% from 3, you're elite. If you shoot upper 30s, you're pretty good. A big man, a really good big should shoot like 60% from around the basket. I think that's a really good number, okay? So in the mid-range, in the NBA, the best players in the world, guess how many players shot over 40% from the mid-range? I think this was 3 years ago. Just take a guess, just throw it out there. 10, 4. So that tells us the mid-range shot is the hardest shot in basketball, okay? Now, this is good, I'm gonna expand on this. So we do a gated chart. Gated means get after their buds. And I learned this from, he's now the head coach at Stanford, but he was at Washington State, he was at San Francisco. His name is Kyle Smith, and he was really big into the analytics. And I sat by him in an open gym, and I knew he was doing something with analytics, and I just asked, like, what's the biggest thing for you? And he goes, we have a point system in practice and in games. Offensively, defensively, what we value. And there's points based on what it is. So I was like, well, can you send it to me? He's like, I can't send it to you because it's about what you value. And I didn't quite understand at the time, like, I just want to see yours. He's like, no, you have to decide what you really value as a coach and then assign the point totals based on what you value. So offensively, we value layups, we value threes, we value assists. We call them hockey assists or potential assists, where a hockey assist, you pass it one more, goes to the open guy. So you made the right play, you got him the shot, but somebody else passed it to him, right? The potential assists, I made the right play, I gave the big the ball, and he missed the dunk. But that's the right play. So those would all be plus for us. Turnover, -5. So at practice, if you ever came to a practice, I told you we're #1 in not turning the ball over last year. Last year at practice, if you turned it over, somebody would just yell, -5, because they just lost 5 points off their score. So we would chart every practice. So it became like a pride thing too, where they didn't want to turn the ball over. Or defensively, you force a turnover, you get a deflection. Those are positive things. So there's a certain amount of possessions in the game, and in practice, we take those possessions that the player played, and then we divide it out, and you should get a positive number. And then it kind of takes everything out, like there's still some coaches' decisions with stuff, right? There's some logic. But if I say I value the press and forcing turnovers and taking care of the ball, and I got one kid that's at the bottom of those rankings every single week, but he's playing the most amount of minutes, my priorities are wrong, right? Because I'm not playing the right guy. So he said it takes the emotion out of it, so I've done that ever since. But to answer your question, rim shots and threes are the highest percentage shots in basketball at every level. Does that make sense? So yes, we are going to throw the ball in the post. Come watch us play. Cam will get the ball. All I think about at night is like, how can we get him the ball? Because he's really good. So we will do back to the basket. If you see a mid-range shot, they do get points taken off if they shoot it. Now, your best players have to be able to shoot mid-range shots because they got the ball in their hands when at the end of the shot clock. If that's the best shot we can get, we tend to not take points off for that. Good question. Long answer. Good question.
I was really happy to see your basketball team go to 8th grade. But I was thinking, I wonder what they think about being in 8th grade. I mean, is that just, we really have to do this? Or were they kind of excited to do it?
They love it. Coaches too. The new coaches that we have on staff, we got done, we all got in the car and they're like, that was awesome. I just think it's, when I get to pick the players, I get to pick the guys that want to be part of the community and that love what we're about in Vermillion, where it's not for everybody. And I can sniff that out and decide that in the recruiting process. So there's not one person that complains, oh, we got to walk in the parade. And you guys don't know this, but they practiced for 2 hours before they walked in the parade. So, yep, they did. True story.
Basketball or practice walking?
Well, a brisk pace at practice. It was a hard practice. It was, because we were off the next day, and usually we go a lighter practice, a medium practice, and then a really hard practice to simulate a game, and the next day is the day off. So it was a hard practice, and they had to walk that route. They just get a little too excited. So if you want candy from us, you have to come early because they throw it all out at the beginning.
I have another question for you.
Sure.
I heard once that in basketball, during the course of the game, they run like 6 miles. Is that still true today?
Depends how much they play. No, so that's a good question. We have this deal called Catapult. In Catapult, if you see any pictures of our guys wearing sports bras, there's a chip inside the back of the sports bra. Some of the guys wear them on their hips right here. And we got this at Utah State, and they were just starting out, and they used us as like a test school that they could write all the research based on our team. And what Catapult is that chip, and then our strength coach sits there on the iPad, and it tells us the force they're using in their body. It tells us how far they've run in practice, so we can chart that stuff in a game. But it depends on the player too. So when I plan practice, when I told you guys the first day is a lighter day, we know that there's a number that they have to hit on the iPad, and then we're good with practice. Practice is done. Then the next day, the numbers slightly increase, and the last day, it's really, really high to simulate a game. And that's, to me, it was really important to get that because of the way we play. So I'm not just running the team down. If you saw us play last year, we had a lot of injuries at the end of the year. I don't know if it's because of practice and what I did to plan practice, but now I have the research and the data that says this is how we're going to do it, and hopefully we can peak in March instead of going like this. So 6 miles depends on a lot of things, what you run in offense, the pressing piece, the possession. So I would say for our guys, it's probably closer. We just played Northern Iowa on Saturday. It's probably closer to 3 to 4 miles, but there's a lot of possessions in the game. So 6 is 6 is aggressive. We should put a chip on, see how much I walk back and forth. I always thought too with the officials, get the officials and see how hard they're working. And if they're not working hard, then I can call them out.
That'd be good.
Yeah.
Because they, they're running up and down the court too.
Yeah, no, exactly. So it's called Catapult, but that helps us figure that stuff out too. And we've had a really hard practice. The other piece is it helps us with drills. So now I have a list of all the drills that are not very hard, medium, and really hard, and then I can pick them to plan practice and hit our number for the day.
Do you have a sense of what the competition will be like in the summer league this year?
Not a clue.
Given
No,
all the changes?
that's a hard question. And we were talking about this at the head coaching meeting. So preseason, they all come out with these preseason polls. And I'm trying to vote for preseason all league. And half the guys on the list, I have no idea who they are. And most, like there's, let me think here. Denver lost everybody but one player. Oral Roberts returned 2 players. UMKC returned 1 player. Everybody's losing most of their team. So how do you pick preseason all league? I don't know. How do you pick the standings? I'm not going to go watch film on all these players right now. I'll do it when they play for the team, but I don't know. It's a toss-up. I think a lot of it's just based on respect, who's been good in the past, and that's how they pick teams. I've been part of teams that have been picked 9th, and we were an 8 seed in the NCAA tournament. Omaha last year was picked 8th, and they won the league. So I don't have it figured out. I don't think anybody has it figured out. It's really hard. Yes?
So you said you press more, so if you do that, you need more stamina. So I want to ask, how did you get that stamina? But also you said you're faster. How did you get them to be fast?
Yeah, so our strength coach is really good. His name's Brian Plenge, and he's now the head of Olympic sports. So in the past, he's been doing multiple sports and training them, where now he's the head and he just has a couple sports. So he's been able to dive in more with the technology piece. And when you have Catapult, we can tell how hard we're pushing them, and he can push them harder based on the science, right? So in the past, how much conditioning we've been doing, I don't know. That's kind of his job. I stay out of it. But he knows how much more he can do based on the numbers with their chip in the sports bra or the hip. I think part of it is having more depth where they can play harder and be faster in smaller spurts versus playing guys longer minutes. I think that definitely makes them faster. But honestly, that's why he does that. I'll have to ask him, but I know he's done more conditioning than he ever has done before, especially during the summer. I should explain this. Summer, we get 8 hours. 4 for men's basketball, 4 for strength conditioning. So he spends a lot of time during the summer getting their bodies right, and we got to be in great shape to be as fast as we can be and continue those movements over a longer period of time. But I don't know if I have an exact answer. Just give them the guys and say, hey, make them fast.
With the transfer portal now, do academics really matter?
To me, they do. I probably should have said this. I'm really proud of this. Our team GPA was 3.4 last year, and that's unheard of for a men's basketball team in the country. Maybe the Ivy Leagues are like 3.5, but for 3.4, I don't know if it's a school record, obviously, and we set a school record the previous year. It matters to me. To a lot of kids, I don't know if academics will be a huge piece moving forward. I don't, but I tell kids all the time, like, don't come here unless you want to earn your degree. If there's one thing I can promise kids is that they'll earn their degree if they stay here for 4 years. That's 100% a fact. But I think there's a lot of kids that are just trying to get by at other institutions. There's still something called the academic progress rate, which means APR, so you're with your APR, meaning if there's a kid that transfers and his GPA is below a certain GPA, like 2.1, that you get points taken off your score. And if your score is not very good, you don't get to make the NCAA tournament. You don't get the amount of scholarships that you're supposed to get. So we are held to a standard that we have to keep guys on track to graduate, but there's a lot of programs that just don't care, honestly. They might say they do, but when you transfer that much, how many credits are you losing from school to school? I'm sure a ton. And the sad part, what happens is their major is something, business or whatever. Now it becomes, you got a degree in general studies, where our business degree is top 25, top 30 in the country. And then if they leave, now who knows what they're getting for their degree. So I think it's becoming less important. And a lot of coaches won't say that. To a lot of kids, it's about making money. Which stinks. I'm out of time. Just give me the ear tug. I'll stick around too if you guys have more questions afterwards. I'll be here for a while. So thank you guys. Go Yotes.
You got something to do. Hold on, you got work. You got work. You're not done.
I got more work to do?
You got more work to do. We do a 50-50 drawing.
Okay.
So you have to pull out, always make the speaker